Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk live and direct on a Monday. We are back from a busy weekend with 3 hours of sports talk here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However you are listening to, watching, otherwise consuming this program, thank you for being along for the ride. We are with you until 6 o'clock with lots to get to from our first football weekend of the season here on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little while. Brendan Wrzinski is off today. We are not exactly hurting for content on a football Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Today, the Royals still playing meaningful games. KU and K-State started their seasons. The Chiefs wrapped up their preseasons. And we'll cover it all pillar to post on the show today. College football had the spotlight. The state of Kansas had the spotlight. Both of the flagship universities of the Sunflower State playing in virtually exclusive broadcast windows. Obviously, K-State on ESPN with the first game of the 2025 season against Iowa State. We'll start there today. K-State loses a heartbreaker, 24-21. They lose to Iowa State again because Iowa State was better on the margins again. And a lot of things we believe to be true about Kansas State now come with a significant except against Iowa State caveat. And when you lose your first game like that, you have to ask, did we, the royal we, maybe overrate the Cats a little bit? Because I felt like K-State could have controlled that football game. They didn't. In fact, it was Iowa State who controlled the second half of that football game, including bleeding the last 6.5 minutes off the clock to preserve their 3-point lead. Or is the message board rending of garments, the annual tradition back for yet another fall, a bit of an overreaction? If you had been on social media or in the message boards at gopowercat.com or elsewhere, you would have thought K-State had lost 59-0 to an FCS school, the way people were reacting to a 3-point loss at a neutral site in crappy weather against another top 25 team. I am here today to tell you the sky is not falling. But one thing I did see that does make me question some of my prior beliefs about the 2025 Kansas State Wildcats. We will get to that as we begin the program today. KU opened with a win. I was at the reimagined David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. That's what they're going with. That's the verbiage. The reimagined booth for the season opener on Saturday night. That game was on Big Fox. Stadium looked great, all striped out and full. And KU looked great. 31-7 winners over Fresno State. Offense was terrific. Defense, though, one word that comes to mind to describe them that ought to really excite Kansas fans. We'll talk a little bit about what transpired in Lawrence today. And, of course, the preseason is done for the Kansas City Chiefs. The next time they play, the game will count. They lost to the Bears on Friday night at Arrowhead Stadium. In case you turned it off after halftime or after 3 quarters or with 1 minute left in the game, the Bears drove and won. They scored with like 3 seconds left. Tyson Bagent, Spencer's boy, out there looking like Joe Montana. Good for him and good for the Bears. The important things that happened on Friday night were twofold. Number one, nobody else got hurt. And number two, at 15 for the Chiefs, their first string quarterback, yeah, really good. Still, in case you needed a reminder, it felt like the Chiefs did a little message sending on Friday night. Spencer was there. He'll be along with us later on, and we'll get his boots on the ground thoughts, what he observed from high above GEHA Field at Arrowhead up in the press box on Friday night. We'll also talk about the Chiefs news that broke over the weekend, and Matt Derrick was all over this. He predicted it, and it came true. Derek Nottie is back with the Chiefs, acquired for a 6th, 7th round pick swap, very similar trade to the Sky Moore deal that sent him from Kansas City to San Francisco. So we'll talk about the Nottie move and whether or not that would have happened had Felix Anudike-Uzomah not been injured. Discuss that later on. And we'll continue our countdown to kickoff because now we're 11 days away from the start of this season. 11 days left between now and the first Chiefs game. That means something. Next Friday in Brazil against the Chargers. Talking football with us today will be our guest, the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Matt Verderame joins us every Monday, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. We'll get Matt's thoughts on the Chiefs preseason finale, everything else going on as cut day approaches. We're a day away from the day on which all teams must be down to 53 players on their rosters. We'll get Matt's thoughts coming up here in about 20, 25 minutes or so. We didn't forget about baseball. Frustrating weekend for the Royals. Could have won all 3 against Detroit. A little bit of a meltdown on Friday night. A frustrating game on Saturday. Offense just couldn't get anything going. On Sunday, it could have been a sweep. Well, it could have been a blowout win, and then it could have been a sweep. But the Royals showed something that they've been showing all year and maybe you don't get enough credit for in rallying back and winning that game yesterday. 10-8, the final, to salvage one in Detroit. We'll check in on the playoff odds and look ahead to tonight's game because at 6 o'clock, we're done and the Royals Baseball Network takes over. The Royals in the city of big shoulders, Chicago, tonight for the first of 3 against the White Sox. Pregame at 6 o'clock, first pitch at 6:40 here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we got baseball, we got plenty of football, and we got our usual Monday shenanigans with our headlines and what is wrong with you and good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. Plus, we want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. Want to hear from you on the text line. Especially want to hear from K-State fans today. KU fans too, but especially want to hear from K-State fans today. 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the YouTube chat. If you are watching the show today on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, the live chat is off and rolling already. Appreciate seeing some regulars in the YouTube chat. Vance, Andrew, Mark H. into the chat. Paul is there. Ryan, hello. Gonzo's in the chat. Great to see you, Gonzo. Our guy Brendan is in the chat with a very important question. Is Jalon Daniels to Cam Pickett the best QB wide receiver combo of all time? We'll get there. We will get there later on in the program. But it's good to see all of you. Look forward to those of you interacting with us in the chat, interacting amongst yourselves and growing that 580 Sports Talk community on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And today would be a great day if you have not subscribed to the channel to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because we've got the show every day. We've got instant reactions from every Chiefs game, from every time we're in a press box for KU K-State. Wi-Fi was a little bumpy on our KU instant reaction on Saturday night. But eventually, if you hit play, eventually you will see Brendan and I. You'll hear us all the way through. You won't see us right away, but we're there, I promise. But the instant reaction videos are starting for the fall. Go subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Plus, if you get us to 800 subscribers, and we're getting ever closer, 800 is the number of subscribers at which Brendan Dworzinski and I will arm wrestle live on camera during an episode of 580 Sports Talk. We are getting closer and closer and closer. So go subscribe to that YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, if you have not already. All right. Iowa State 24, K-State 21. Kansas State averaged 6.7 yards per play compared to just 4.2 for Iowa State. Wildcats held Rocco Becht to 50% completions. They held Iowa State to less than 3 yards per rush. And even if you take sack yardages and kneel downs out of the equation, it's still just over 3 yards per carry. The turnover battle, which has been the bugaboo for K-State in recent Farmageddon losses, ended up being dead even 2-2, many of those weather-related. And not only was the turnover battle even, so were the points off of turnovers because neither team scored off of the other team's turnovers. So with all of that evidence, how in the hell did K-State lose to Iowa State again? How did Farmageddon break the Cyclones' way again? Because if you had told me all of that, if you'd shown me the post-game box score and shown me that yards per play would be K-State domination, that turnovers would not be a significant factor, that Iowa State couldn't really run the ball over the course of 60 minutes. If you'd shown me all of that, I would have said, oh yeah, K-State took care of business. They did not take care of business. Iowa State wins by a field goal. And it comes down in the end to 6 plays. And this is what happens many times when two teams are evenly matched, and as evenly matched as K-State and Iowa State have been. Look, I'll say this at the outset. If you watched that game and your takeaway was that Iowa State was clearly better, I saw a lot of Iowa State whooped K-State. I saw a lot of that. That's nonsense. If that's what you saw, you watched a different football game than I did. If you watched that football game and your takeaway was Kansas State is doomed to a middle-of-the-pack finish in the Big 12, you watched a different K-State game than I did. You did. You watched a different game. And that's fine. But a lot of what I saw was a lot of what I would have expected from Kansas State. A lot of what I saw from Iowa State was what I would have expected from them. It's two really good teams with pretty good defenses, slugging it out on a neutral site in the first game of the year in nasty weather on a crappy field. That's a big part of why the game looked like it did. Certainly with the first half sloppiness, certainly with the first half turnovers. When the rain let up, the teams found their footing, and we saw the offenses really go to work and show some of that for Iowa State, their ground control, for K-State, their explosiveness in the second half. But when you have a game that is between two very even teams, so often it only comes down to about a handful of plays. And in this game, there were 6 of them, and we know exactly what they were. They were the 4th down plays on which Kansas State could not convert, and they were the 4th down plays on which Iowa State could. And maybe that is a bit of an oversimplification, because one of the successful conversions for Iowa State ended up not really leading to anything. They were successful on a 4th and 1 from their own 44 in the first half, but that drive ended in a missed field goal. So toss that play out the window if you want. But it was one of 3 successful Iowa State 4th down conversions on 3 attempts. K-State was 1 for 4. The plays on which Kansas State failed to convert, you had Joe Jackson stuffed on 4th and 1 from the Iowa State 7 following a turnover forced, with K-State having a chance to take the lead. In retrospect, points being at a premium like they were, you might have considered the field goal, but obviously conditions weren't ideal. Maybe some concern about the footing of a place kicker on an angled field goal. And K-State had converted their first 4th and 1 of the game with Jackson running. Why not do it again? They didn't do it again because Iowa State made a play. Marcus Neal came through on block, made a really good play. Marcus Neal's a dude. If you took anything away from Iowa State from that game, Marcus Neal, go ahead, write him in pencil in your first team all Big 12 defense. So they failed on that 3rd down or 4th down. Second half, they have a 4th and 9, and they're in no man's land. They're at the Iowa State 33. Again, maybe more ideal weather, more ideal field conditions. Maybe Luis Rodriguez gets to try a 50-yard field goal there. I don't know if he's got that kind of leg. We didn't really get to see him try. But maybe that's a field goal try in different circumstances. 4th and 9 is a tough yardage to get. Even so, Avery Johnson bails the pocket, scrambles, finds Jaron Bradley, and the pass hits Bradley in a bad spot right in his hands. Again, tough catch. Not really. Got to make it. One of those that Bradley would tell you he's got to make. So K-State fails there. Not a play caller's fault, just an execution issue. Then you have the play that really defined the game. The failed quarterback sweep on 4th and 1 from the K-State 30 in the 4th quarter. I don't mind K-State going for it there. I think a lot of K-State failing in that spot is down to, again, Iowa State making a defensive play. That safety made Avery Johnson go backwards. If he doesn't stop Avery Johnson dead in his tracks with the force of his hit, Johnson falls forward the extra 6 inches, and that drive continues. That was a perfect hit delivered at a perfect angle with perfect velocity, and it dropped Avery Johnson half a yard short. And Iowa State would score to make it a 10-point game, and K-State never had it tied up ever again. You want to criticize the play call? You absolutely have space to do that. Avery Johnson is a gifted runner of the football, but what Avery Johnson is not is Colin Klein. So running some version of quarterback power or quarterback sweep with a quarterback of Avery Johnson's physical stature, I don't love it. Rocco Becht is built a little differently. So when Iowa State runs quarterback power on 4th and 1 from their own 44 in the first half, they get it. And when they run QB power on 4th and 1 from the K-State 46 on the drive that led to the go-ahead touchdown that made it 14-7, they get it. It's no frills. It's no nonsense. And your quarterback's built for it. And then the other 4th down, of course, the one that decided the game or iced the game for Iowa State. 4th down and 3, play action pass to a running back in the flat. Great play call. Great play call in that moment. One very well-called play for Iowa State that left Carson Hansen one-on-one with Cody Stufflebean, which is a matchup that Hansen is going to win every single time out of the flat. And one play call that didn't work for Matt Wells and Kansas State. That's the margin here. So to come away from that game and say, oh, Iowa State, clearly the better team. They played a great second half. They did. They did Iowa State stuff. They didn't make a lot of self-inflicted errors. There were drop passes, sure. Again, both teams were playing on a crappy field. But they didn't have a lot of penalties, only 1 to K-State's 6. And in the fourth quarter, you could argue they had fresher legs. They had a closer at running back in Carson Hansen who had fresher legs than anybody else on the field. And Iowa State began to impose their will offensively in a way that they really didn't in the first 2.5 quarters when K-State was imposing their will on the game. And usually it's Kansas State that makes the defensive adjustments. I actually think very highly of Joe Klanderman's ability to make second half adjustments as the defensive coordinator. But remember what I said earlier? There's a lot of stuff that K-State does generally. But now with 5 losses in 6 in this rivalry, the except against Iowa State caveat kind of grows bigger and bigger, doesn't it? And that's what we have here. Like, Chris Kleiman has a good game plan, has his teams prepared, has his teams play pretty clean, except against Iowa State. Joe Klanderman makes really good second half adjustments, has his defense ready to go in the second half once he's seen what a team does in the first half, except against Iowa State. Kansas State doesn't beat itself, except against Iowa State. That's the state of the rivalry right now, and it has to be unbelievably frustrating. Because again, I did not see watching that game one team dramatically superior to the other. If that's what you saw, I don't know. Maybe you need to upgrade your TV, get some HD. That's not what I saw. I did not see Iowa State streets ahead of K-State. I saw really good offensive execution and Iowa State doing Iowa State stuff on offense that enabled them to put that game away. And I saw K-State stay in the game doing the things that they're going to do offensively. We saw the explosiveness. Both of the touchdown passes for Avery Johnson. Explosive plays. The 37-yarder to Jace Brown. Beautifully schemed play that gets Brown wide open in the slot. And then the 65-yard touchdown pass to Jaron Bradley, which is another very well-schemed play that got a man wide open down the sideline. The explosiveness for K-State in the passing game we got to see. The explosiveness in the running game we never got to see because Dylan Edwards hurt his ankle before he could even get on the field for a single offensive snap. And I don't know the status of Dylan Edwards, and anybody who says they do right now is lying unless they're from the K-State program. But man, you want to talk about a blow to the solar plexus before you even run a play that, look, I like Joe Jackson as a running back too. I think Devin Rice has some potential, but there's a lot that I'm sure K-State wanted to do in that football game that they couldn't do because they didn't have Dylan Edwards. And as much as anything else, I think their slow start on offense came down to, well, we got to junk all this Dylan Edwards stuff. Now what? The fact that K-State recovered and made the explosive plays happen in the passing game, look, plenty to like from the Kansas State perspective. Pass rush was really good. Toby Osunsanmi, who was good early last year, but didn't really do anything against Big 12 opponents last year, he did a lot against Iowa State. He looked unblockable at times. That's huge to see an edge presence like Osunsanmi do that against Iowa State. Chidi Obiizer played a really good football game. I thought Donovan McIntosh, he got beat on a really good throw for, I think it was the first, maybe been the second time, may have been the touchdown to Skildson. Yeah, it was. It was a second deep ball. But man, sometimes tip your cap, really good throw to a receiver going to beat somebody one-on-one. I thought other than that, McIntosh played a pretty good game. There was good stuff happening defensively. Austin Romaine was everywhere. There was good stuff happening offensively. There just wasn't enough of it. There wasn't enough of it to beat Iowa State. And that has been a familiar and painful and frustrating song. I do want to say this before I wrap this discussion. A lot of what we have presupposed about Kansas State. Look, they come back home. They got to regroup. They said all offseason, we're not going to let this game define us, win or lose. They got to walk the walk now. They got to walk that walk. And everything K-State wants to accomplish still in front of them. I happen to think that whoever plays for a Big 12 championship is probably going to have 2 conference losses. K-State spent one of their mulligans. You hate to do that off the first tee box, but sometimes you yank your opening drive 30 yards OB and you have to. But everything is still in front of K-State, and you saw a lot of the reasons why everything is still in front of K-State. But a lot of what we have presupposed about Kansas State when considering them contenders in the Big 12, contenders to go to the college football playoff, predicated upon improvement for Avery Johnson. Did he look improved to you on Saturday? Again, wet ball, crappy field, all caveats apply. Did he look like an improved passer? Or did he look like basically the same passer he was last year? Capable of hitting that deep ball, certainly strong arm, can throw on the run a little bit, but also miss some throws you can't really miss. Those are the kinds of plays Kansas State's going to have to make. Because you don't have margin for error when you're playing a team that's every bit as good as you are. And there were mistakes. There were missed throws earlier. There's a missed slant to Jace Brown, and there was the missed throw to the second tight end. Oh, my goodness. Why am I blanking on his name? It's not Samuel Wheeler. He graduated years ago. Will Swanson on a little tight end out, a throw that wasn't where it needed to be. That was a missed throw. I need to see improvement from Avery Johnson as a passer, and I need to see improvement with how K-State uses him as a runner. You saw what he did in that read option on a 3rd and 4. Took it in for a touchdown, was barely touched. He ran for 10 yards. He could have ran for 100. That's the stuff that Avery Johnson's good at. Stop running him like he's Colin Klein. Run him like he's, I don't know, pick your favorite spread and shred quarterback of the last 20 years. Run him like he's Pat White. Run him like he's Dennis Dixon at Oregon. That's how you run Avery Johnson. That's how you get the most out of him. Throw that Colin Klein stuff out of the playbook. That's not how you run Avery Johnson. And hopefully that's a lesson that Matt Wells learned the hard way on that failed 4th down and 1 that might have cost K-State that football game. They're just 0-1. There's a lot of season left, but man, it gets frustrating. Keep losing to the same team for the same reasons because they're better on the margins than you are over and over again. We'll take our first time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the sports weekend that was. Matt Verderame going to join us bottom of the hour to talk NFL football. We got Chiefs, we got KU, we got Royals. We got a jam-packed show today, and we're really glad you're with us here on 580 Sports Talk. Got the good, the bad, and the ugly from the sports weekend that was. The good, college football is back. You guys know it's my second favorite sport. We didn't get a ton of games in week 0, only 5 of them. But K-State, Iowa State delivered, well, it was a very college football game, wasn't it? It was sloppy. The weather was iffy. The crowd was super into it. Great crowd. The K-State folks that made the trip over to Dublin, I hope you had a nice time, first of all, and you were loud. And the Iowa State contingent, not as big, but loud. So it was a great atmosphere for a game. You had some early game silliness and sloppiness. You had late game explosiveness and drama. It was everything college football is and should be. It was a great showcase. The booth reopened. It was beautiful. It glittered. It was wonderful to see KU Stadium and get to be inside it, see it for a game. And, of course, KU had a great showing. And then Stanford and Hawaii, the late night game, not as late, but you get the idea. That rocked. The kicker for Hawaii learned how to kick watching YouTube, earned himself a scholarship all the way from Japan, and drills the game-winning field goal for Hawaii to beat an ACC team at home. That's awesome. He taught himself to kick the same way I taught myself how to dice onions. And I still suck at dicing onions. To be clear, Matsuzawa doesn't suck at kicking. He's good enough to be a Division I kicker and do his thing for Hawaii. That was awesome. That was a fun finish. It was a great way to cap off the opening college football Saturday. My bad for the weekend. Boy, early returns on the Bailey-Falter trade. Not great. Royals brought Bailey-Falter into a tied game. Again, bullpen's been really taxed, and everybody's got a pitch. And Bailey-Falter was really bad. He got hit by a comebacker. They put him on the IL. I don't really think that was an IL injury. I think that was we can't rely on you right now. We got to get somebody up who can pitch some innings because our bullpen is slagged. But Ryan Bergert looks great, and Mike Yastrzemski's been awesome, and Randall Grichuk is doing his thing, and all of that. It was a good deadline for the most part for J.J. Piccolo, but the early Bailey-Falter returns, that's looking like a guy who might get non-tendered. And the ugly, this is the only time I'm going to talk about this because I don't have anything to add to it. It is not awesome that the father and the older brother of the starting quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats got into a fight with each other outside of the stadium after the game in Dublin. It's not what you want. Like, do I think this is going to have long-term effects on Avery Johnson and the Kansas State Wildcats on the gridiron? No, I don't. But it's not the kind of thing you want to be answering questions about. And, that's really, really tough for Avery's dad and older brother to put Avery in that spot. That's all I'm going to say about it because I don't have anything else to add to it. And it sounds like the differences have been resolved. And sometimes you got to keep things in the family. And I'm not here to speculate on family drama. But I know this. I ain't never tried to fight my dad. Matt Verderame joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also, that football show on the KC Sports Network, and the Matt Verderame Show, his own subscriber-only Patreon. Matt is our NFL insider, joins us every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, far be it for me to suggest that the three-time defending AFC champion and three-time Super Bowl winning Chiefs needed to prove a point in a preseason game, but the first quarter performance by the offense, that felt like Patrick Mahomes and company maybe proving a little bit of a point on Friday night against the Bears.
Well, if they had to, they did. They could have easily thrown for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns in a quarter. Now, as it turned out, they threw for 143 yards and 1 because Kareem Hunt dropped the pass, Rashard Smith dropped the pass, which was really the only low lights of the game for the starters. I think the bigger point was Mahomes had all day to throw football. All day. More time than he's had in a very long time in any game. Preseason game, regular, post. He was routinely getting 3 or 4 seconds of an extremely clean pocket. Simmons was terrific. Tua Mattia, who really struggled in pass pro the first 2 games, I thought was vastly improved on Friday night. If they can get that out of that line, they're going to score a lot of points. And you got a pretty good indication of why on Friday night against Chicago.
The deep ball made a reappearance. That wasn't necessarily a surprise. The fact that it went to Tyquan Thornton may be a little bit of a surprise. I don't think anybody back in March would have expected that we'd be talking about Tyquan Thornton as a nailed-on member of the 53-man roster one day ahead of cut day. But does this strike you as maybe somebody who maybe just needed that change of scenery coming away from New England where he failed to impress as a second-round pick?
I think we're talking about Thornton. He's never been healthy. I mean, he came in as a rookie out of Baylor, 50th overall pick in 2022. He looked good. Then he got hurt. I believe, if I remember correctly, he hurt his shoulder. And he missed a lot of time. And then the last 2 years, he's kind of just been in that lineup. And look, also, too, that team has been a disaster the last couple of years. Coaching changes. Up until Drake May got there and no talent at the position. I mean, they had Bailey Zappi as their quarterback. Well, the Chiefs just cut Bailey Zappi. So that's all you need to know. Like, they have been bereft of talent offensively. Now, doesn't mean Tyquan Thornton's going to all of a sudden turn into a great player. But I got to say, after being at camp, the day I was there, I thought he was the best player on the field. Him and Rashard Smith. I mean, take Mahomes out of it. I wonder a little bit here, like, is he going to take some Hollywood Brown snaps? Is he going to get on the field instead of him at times? Because, Thornton is a guy, I mean, he's a big receiver. He's 6'2". He ran a 4.29 40 at the combine. I mean, the guy can flat out run. And I just do wonder, with Hollywood's injury history and everything else, do they try to mitigate that a little bit? Giving him maybe 20 snaps a game, something like that, instead of just letting Hollywood eat most of those up.
Matt Verderame is our NFL insider here on 580 Sports Talk from Sports Illustrated and SI.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Meant to ask you this when you did get a chance to be at Chiefs camp. We've had a lot of people tell us who cover the team that they've never seen Mahomes have as good a camp as he has had this year. Is that just training camp hullabaloo, or based on what you've seen and what you've heard, is there something to that idea that Mahomes has come in and maybe been even just that much sharper, that much more motivated throughout this preseason?
I think it's probably a combination of both. But I would say that, look, embarrassment is a great fuel. They weren't just beaten in that Super Bowl. They were embarrassed. They played like they didn't belong in the NFL in that game. So if you're Mahomes, you're going to take that more personally than anybody else because, let's face it, you're the quarterback. And when you win, you get the credit. And when you lose, you get the blame. And even though he spent a lot of that game running for his life, people looked at him in that game and went, they played terribly. And he did. He did play terribly, even independent of the offensive line. He was not good in that football game. And so, look, this offseason, what have we all talked about? Well, is Allen the guy? Lamar, which I think is insane based on his postseason record. But that's been a big conversation. You have a lot of people who genuinely are picking Bo Nix to beat out Patrick Mahomes in the nation. in the AFC West. I mean, that's where we're at. So yes, I do think he's motivated. The day I was there, I think in all their team drills, I think the ball hit the ground twice. Like he is not going to be their problem. If they can block, he'll have an enormous year. And that's why I thought Friday night, like, we could talk about the deep ball to Thornton. We could talk about the defense playing really well, which it did. But I walked away from that game saying, if they block like this, it's all. I mean, he's going to throw for 5,000 yards if they block like that. He had all day. I mean, you look at that Thornton pass. The Bears rushed 4 guys on that play. One of them was 5 yards away. The other 3 guys were at least 8 yards away from him. I mean, if Mahomes is a pocket of 25 feet, he's going to hit somebody. And you go, look at that play. Worthy's wide open on a crosser. That might have been a touchdown. Rice is open for 25 yards. I mean, look, if they block, they will score a ton of points with that guy at the controls.
What's the toughest decision you think the Chiefs have to make on cut day tomorrow?
You know, I was going over my roster projection for my podcast, and of all the years that I've covered the league and or at the very beginning of my career, just kind of strictly focused on them, this might be the easiest one, really. Look, there's maybe 1 or 2 spots. I mean, you know, on the defensive line, does Tillery make it with Noddy now coming in? I don't know. The offensive line, the last spot, is it Norzad? Is it Hansen? I think that's where the battle is. I think it's Norzad, but we'll see. You know, does Remigio, does he make it as a 7th receiver? I think he does. I don't think he's that really. Like, I'd be surprised if they cut him. I just don't think he's really on the bubble that much. I think Elijah Mitchell's gone. I mean, maybe if you want to look at like Carson Steele, does he make it? I don't think he does, but I wouldn't be shocked. But I don't see a surprise cut. Like, I don't think there's going to be anybody who gets cut. You go, whoa! Like, I can't believe they cut that guy. You know, Joshua Williams, like, that wouldn't surprise anybody who's paying attention. So I don't think there's going to be one of these cuts in Kansas City tomorrow or today that you go, wow, I'm really surprised. I don't think that's going to happen.
Continue our conversation with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joining us as he does every Monday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. The hold-in for Terry McLaurin in Washington is over. He got his money today, 3-year extension worth up to $96 million, including a $30 million signing bonus. Were you surprised the number came in that high for McLaurin?
No, I wasn't. I thought he'd get it right around $100 million. So that's right. Look, McLaurin's been awesome. They've had no quarterback on that team forever until Daniels got there a year ago. And he's done nothing but play every game, put up 1,000 yards, and he's also never had the benefit of a number 2 receiver worth anything around him. I mean, even this year, quite honestly, it's him in whatever's left of Deebo Samuel. Like, it's not – he's never had, a Tyreek and Kelsey kind of combination. I mean, he has always been the guy. Every single team goes into those games and says, okay, stop him. And they can't. So – no, look, I think he deserves it. I honestly wonder why it took so long. I mean, truthfully, it was always going to be 3 years, and it was always going to be somewhere between 90 and 100. You know, I wouldn't even have been totally shocked if he got like 105. He's older, he's 30, but he's been super durable. He just had a phenomenal year. Like, I just don't know what the argument would have been if you're Washington's front office of why you're either not going to pay him or try to keep it like to a 1-year. That was never going to happen.
That contract dispute is resolved. Now there's another one on the opposite coast with a different wide receiver. Jacoby Myers is one of the more underrated wide receivers in football, in my opinion, and now he wants out of Las Vegas. He has requested a trade. Apparently the Raiders are uninterested in doing a contract extension with Myers. There are certainly some teams out there, Minnesota most prominently, who are looking for wide receiver help and might be willing to pay a little bit more than the regular premium for the privilege. But do you think that's something that the Raiders would do, is move a guy as reliable, dependable as Myers has been?
Probably not at this point unless they get really, really good value. But, I got to say, and I get it. He's another guy. It's like right around that age 30. If you're the Raiders, you're not going to pay that guy. Like, I'm not saying, first of all, he's not going to get paid a fortune. He's not a number 1 receiver. He's a number 2 receiver. He's probably looking at like $20 million a year, something like that. If you're the Raiders, who are you paying on that team? I mean, you're paying Crosby. He's the only guy you're paying defensively, although I guess we can say Wilkins, we'll see what happens, the grief and anything else. Offensively, you're paying Colton Miller. You're paying nobody else. Like, whatever's left on Geno Smith's contract. And if you take Myers out of that offense, you are guarding one guy. Bowers is it. There's no other receiver on that team you even respect. So I don't understand if you're the Raiders. But the guy's been a good player in a brutal situation. Why wouldn't you I'm not saying give him a fortune, like 2 years and $40 million, 2 years and 35. It just feels like a little bit of nickel and diming, and now he's annoyed, and now you're dealing with that. And if you do trade him, now you have one player to throw the ball to. If you don't trade him, you have one really kicked off player who's probably going to leave at the end of the season. It's just, and that's the other part. If you're going to let him go anyway, get something for him. I mean, they're not winning the Super Bowl. Like, you might as well. I don't understand why the Raiders would handle him the way that they are.
Matt, as we look towards the season, we'll do some season prediction type stuff with you next week on the week that the season actually begins. But you made mention of it while we were talking about the Chiefs and what they did on Friday night and what Mahomes did over the course of the preseason and in camp. That there are a lot of folks, and it happens every year, it's as reliable as the tides, that somebody is going to say, this is the year it ends for the Chiefs. And typically, it's the Chargers that everybody picks to dethrone the Chiefs. A lot of people this year are on the Broncos bandwagon. They did make the playoffs last year with a rookie quarterback. In your mind, who is the second best team? Who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in that AFC West? Now, having had the preseason, having had the offseason to kind of put your thoughts together on that, who do you think is the most direct threat to the Chiefs in the West?
I think it's Denver in terms of who the second best team is. Denver, to me, is better than the Chargers. I'll be honest. I don't understand the hubbub about the Chargers. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're fine, but they're not. I mean, they're already down, in my opinion, their best player in Slater. He's not the most important, but he's probably the second most important behind Herbert. He's gone. Becton's been hurt. Harris has been hurt. The receivers outside of McConkey are brutal. Like, I think Denver's better. Denver has a terrific defense. I might think Denver has the best defense in football if Greenlaw and Hufanga can stay reasonably healthy. Offensively, look, they'll be efficient offensively because of Peyton and Sutton's a good receiver and they've got some backs. But I got to tell you, if Mahomes is upright for 17 games, Denver has no shot of winning that thing. None. Like, you could print it, underline it, Denver's not beating that team out. I mean, to beat out Kansas City if Mahomes is healthy, you probably have to win 13 plus games. You find me the person with a straight face that says they think that Denver's winning 13 plus games this year. I think they're good. I think they're a playoff team. I think Denver's going to make the playoffs, but I don't see any world if Mahomes is healthy that they're beating out Kansas City.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. You can also hear him on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network. And subscribe to his Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show, where you get all kinds of great insider information, lots of great Chiefs content there as well. And you can catch him every Monday right here on 580 Sports Talk as our NFL insider. Matt, it's always a pleasure. Next week, we'll be talking about games and getting ready to do this for real.
Can't wait.
All right, talk to you then. Thanks, Matt. That is Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. We'll take a quick timeout, come back, and wrap up this opening hour of 580 Sports Talk next. Our thanks again to Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Got a lot more Chiefs to get to in hour number 2. Spencer Dupuis was at Arrowhead for their preseason finale. We'll get his on-the-scene thoughts on that final preseason game and the most important developments from that final preseason game. We are 11 days away from kickoff of the Chiefs season. The next time the Chiefs lace them up, it'll count, as it will be in Sao Paulo, Brazil, against the Los Angeles Chargers. I think I've been saying Rio de Janeiro all offseason, not to draw attention to my own flubs and screw-ups, but you guys know I've never batted 1,000 in the history of this show. So it may not surprise you to know that I had my wrong Brazilian city all this time. They're in Sao Paulo for the season opener. That is in 11 days. And our Chiefs countdown to kickoff continues appropriately with number 11, Jalon Daniels. And we didn't get to see him in the preseason opener. Otherwise, this would have been a much longer segment, perhaps. We could have talked about what we saw in the preseason finale. He sat it out with knee tendonitis. Doesn't sound like it's a long-term concern. I certainly hope that that is the case, but it may help if early on Royals is not called upon to be an important part of the Chiefs offense. How many times have we heard it? We hear it over and over again. Andy Reid's offense is complicated. It takes guys time to learn it. It takes wide receivers in particular time to learn it. It takes them time to develop a relationship with their quarterback, understand how the quarterback plays, where they need to go, how to catch the ball that is delivered by said quarterback. There's all that adjustment, and it's been that for everybody. It was that for Xavier Worthy last year. It was that for Rashee Rice the 2 years before that. But it certainly sounds, all accounts, and Mitch Holtis in his training camp report, when we talked about Jalon Daniels, pointed out that Royals and Mahomes were developing a really good understanding of each other early in this camp. And that is extremely encouraging, that there's already a rapport developing between Mahomes and the rookie wide receiver. I think he's going to be a guy who pops up and makes some plays, makes an impact in 2025. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, Chiefs preseason finale, and KU reopens the booth with a convincing win. Plus, what is wrong with you? It's all next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back from the weekend. We're with you until 6 on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And we are live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. We are also live on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Great to have you along. Hope you all had a great weekend, an enjoyable weekend. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock. We'll hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network at 6. The Royals in Chi-Town on the south side, taking on the White Sox. First of 3 between the Royals and the White Sox tonight. First pitch at 6:40 this evening. Spencer, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, I did. I started out at the Chiefs game from the press box, first time there, and boy, oh boy, was it a great experience. Shout out to the Chiefs PR staff. They are just great, and the game day staff. And we got one of those, we got a couple free gifts, I guess. They were free gifts or media gifts, you would say.
Okay.
One was an envelope that said The Kingdom on it, black envelope with really cool embossed writing, The Kingdom.
Okay.
You open it, and it's a bunch of still shots from the making of The Kingdom, like behind the scenes.
Oh,
still
sure,
shots.
like the TV show. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the making of it. So that was really cool. And then they gave us a Red Friday flag.
Uh-huh.
How about them Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty nice to come to see at the
As
media table.
Everybody knows we got into sports media for the free stuff. Everybody who knows any of us knows that primarily we do what we do for free stuff, particularly meals. That we will show up anywhere there is food.
Yeah.
And but no, in all seriousness, glad you enjoyed it. We're going to talk a little bit about that Chiefs preseason game against the Bears. They lost the game. I've already forgotten the score, but the important stuff happened in the first quarter, and we're gonna talk about that here on the program today. We've also going to cover the bases on KU's opening win over Fresno State on Saturday night. Myself and Brendan Dworzinski were both there. Got to see the reimagined David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. I don't say this to sell Brendan out. He's not on the show today. He's off today. But so we park in the Mississippi Street parking garage where they have the media park. And that is on I'm trying to get oriented, southeast corner of the stadium. So you're still on the side with the unfinished portion of what is basically the student section where the band sits, the unfinished portion of the booth. And so when you walk up, you can see the finished portion.
Yeah.
And we're walking up to the stadium, and every 20 feet, Brendan's going, holy expletive. Just can't believe that this is where Kansas plays football now. How far in such a short time Jayhawk football has come. So needless to say, he was impressed.
I would say the alum very impressed.
Yeah, we'll have we'll have some thoughts on the stadium from yours truly coming up in just a little bit. The emergency alarm went off in the press box during the game. Yeah, and it was really funny.
New digs problems.
Late second quarter, it starts going off, and it's got this digital. It's got this voice. Attention. There is.
Please evacuate the building immediately.
Please evacuate. And the KU game ops all stood up like, don't ignore it. It's fine. Because they would know if that was about to go off and it was something that required.
Yeah, they would have been radioed.
Yeah, intervention. So, first game for everybody, even whoever operates the emergency alarms. So we'll get into that. We got What Is Wrong With You. We'll talk some baseball in a little while. Royals get 1 out of 3 from the Tigers. It's not official, but that really brings to an end any thoughts that the Royals could catch the Tigers in the Central, but maintaining about a 1 in 4 chance of making the playoffs, according to some of the playoff odds, after managing to salvage Sunday's season finale. We will get into that later on as well. You can interact with us. Want to hear from you on the show today. The text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And if you're watching on YouTube, get in the chat. There's a live chat. You can access it if you are watching on a web browser, if you are watching on your mobile device. And hop on in, say hello, interact with your hosts, interact with your fellow listeners, grow the 580 Sports Talk community as we go along. And again, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. We are 8 subscribers away from arm wrestling between myself and Brendan Dworzinski. 8 subscribers shy. We're up to 792 at last check. We get to 800, arm wrestling's happening.
I got some tips for you from the 12-time arm wrestling champion, Travis Bajan, on Friday night.
I was wondering if you ran down Tyson's Fultz.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So for people who don't know, and maybe you're new to the show or you don't know that there's background here, in a previous work life, you covered Shepherd University football.
Yes.
Where Shepherd University football's former starting quarterback was
Tyson Bajan.
While you were there. So
yes,
you and Tyson
I did a show with him every week.
Yeah, so you have more than crossed paths. You have a professional working relationship with Tyson. So you
and
know
his
him,
father by proxy.
and you know the Bajan family. Yes. So yes, Tyson's dad is a 12-time world arm wrestling champion, which is such a cool thing to be. Oh man.
Yeah.
So,
he was just casually sitting there with a bunch of friends.
Sure. I'm sure it was pretty
I looked down. So I looked down. I was like, he told me what section he was in, and I could already see there was somebody in an orange Bears 17. I'm like, that's the section they're in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Already know it.
Not a lot of those.
Not very many.
Not many of those in circulation. But
although a lot of people buying them now.
Oh yeah. Because he looked like Joe Montana against a bunch of guys who are going to be like teaching gym.
Yeah, so I was sitting down there
trainers
waiting for the locker to open. Like at the end of the game, the media tends to go down early, so they don't have to wait for the hustle and bustle of people leaving the stadium, and you can get down the elevators and everything for those that don't know. So I was sitting there in the meeting or in the hallway coming out of the tunnel where the players come, and there's season ticket holders on the one side. And I was sitting next to new athletic reporter or new ESPN reporter, formerly of the Athletic, Nate Taylor. And seems like Ben Johnson really wants to see Tyson Bajan in this 2-minute offense against guys that aren't going to be there on Wednesday.
Yeah. A lot of guys whose names I've already forgotten. Unable to stop the Bears on that final drive. They scored with 2 seconds left and they won the game. And again, like I said, I've already forgotten the final score. 29-27, something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter because
it doesn't.
The Chiefs offense, first team offense is what we saw.
Let's get there because when I talked to Matt Verderame the last hour, of all the guys who don't need to prove anything in the preseason, Patrick Mahomes is probably at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Like he's got nothing to prove by what he does in a preseason game. But I think there were 2 things that were proven by the first team offense. And the first thing was Patrick Mahomes looks dialed. Like every throw was dialed. Even the ones that didn't amount to anything, probably because somebody dropped the ball. Kareem Hunt dropped a touchdown. Rashard Smith dropped a nice little seam route that could have been a big gain. There were some drops. Kelsey had a drop, I think, too.
Yeah.
Not Mahomes' fault. Man, balls on the money. Balls on the numbers every single time from Patrick Mahomes. And the other thing that was proven is that's the level of offensive line play that they got in the first quarter of that game with their starters, with their 5 starters on the field, that if that's what they get for 17 games, Chiefs are going to win a lot of them. And
Exactly.
Mahomes is going to throw for a lot of yards. It was super encouraging for Kingsley Suamataia, who needed a performance where he didn't, repeatedly get shoved backwards into his quarterback's feet. But I thought across the board, that was an offensive line, maybe more than Mahomes, that seemed like they were playing with something to prove, as if to say, hey, we've got this under control, and this offense is going to function a lot better because we're going to be better up front.
Yeah, you almost forgot that the Chiefs traded Joe Thuney to the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way the play looked solid at left tackle or left guard in a way that you couldn't remember Kingsley Suamataia having done in time that he's played.
Certainly not in the first 2 preseason games.
No.
I mean, we're talking last week, like, are they going to need to get a guard off the waiver wire?
Yeah.
Are they going to need to trade a 6th-round pick for a veteran guy who might get cut from somewhere? Like, openly speculating about this. And I think Kingsley largely put that to bed. Not entirely, because, again, it was just 1 quarter of a preseason game, and the Bears, I mean, it ain't, Buddy Ryan's 46 defense anymore. It's been a long time since that's been the case. But Kingsley played really well. He did his job in exceptional fashion. And coupled with as the caliber of play that we saw in that game and really throughout the preseason from Josh Simmons, you feel pretty good about the left side of that offensive line going into week one. You've always felt good about the interior with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. You've always felt like, okay, maybe Jawan Taylor's not a superstar at right tackle, but he's fine. Like, you don't have to necessarily worry that he's going to just get whipped like Wanye Morris would in games last season. Just need the left side to just give Mahomes enough time. Just give him enough. Because with enough time, he's going to put up some crazy numbers. And I saw what I needed to see on Friday night to feel like, okay, it can be Kingsley's gig week one. It's a lot of season. There will be bigger challenges ahead, but that was progress. That was really good, not just in the running game where I think he's been exceptional just up and down the line, but it was good enough to feel like, all right, we can go into the year and that can be the left guard and we'll give it a shot. And I think that you saw the upside of it because this is a talented kid, a big kid. I like that. I like the way he plays. I like his attitude as a guard. And I think he can be a real people mover in the run game. But as long as he holds up and that interior holds up against the pass, Mahomes is going to have, he's going to win that MVP I was talking about. He's going to win last year.
I have kind of, over the last couple of days after hearing this quote, which I'm about to read to you come out of the mouth of Josh Simmons post-game in the locker room, I've always thought it's going to take some time for them to work together. Obviously, getting used to who's next to you is how it's teammates. You got to gel. It's a new guy, new position kind of for Kingsley, who's had a few games, a little bit of time there. But after the game, Josh Simmons kind of highlighted the connection that they have together. He said, we're both Samoans, so we've got that Polynesian chemistry out there. He's got my back as much as I've got his. So if they can make that connection, that can just make their bond better as a left side tandem.
I did not know that about
I didn't
Josh
know it
Simmons.
until it came out of his mouth, and I was standing right there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, makes sense. He's from San Diego, so
yeah. I don't know anything about his parents. I mean,
okay, you look at them standing next to each other, and you can see that they do look similar.
Here we go. I'm looking at his bio on the Ohio State website. Is the son of Anna Mafala. Yep, he's Samoan.
Yep.
At least half.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about it. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it, and then I saw Kingsley walk by in the locker room. I'm like, I see it. Like, I see they have similar body. Like, the way that their bodies look similar.
Get some throwing Samoans on that left side of the offensive line. Wide receivers perform well. Like I said, there were a couple of drops, but again, one on a short one from Kelsey. One was a running back, Smith. The other was a running back, Hunt. Tyquan Thornton caught the deep ball. Like, I think the Chiefs are going to rotate their 6 guys at wide receiver. Like, you're going to see a lot of Rashee Rice when he's not suspended, and you're going to see a lot of Xavier Worthy because he's the fastest guy. But I think you're going to see some rotation. You're going to see Juju. You're going to see Jalen Royals. You're going to see Tyquan Thornton. And I think that there is a dimension that all of those guys bring. We go back to that quote from earlier in the preseason. The quote that I thought was really kind of changed how I think about how the Chiefs do business. From Mike Bradway, their assistant general manager, talking about building a team or a position group like you would build a basketball team. And I think the Chiefs have done that at the wide receiver spot and have a bunch of guys with complementary but different skill sets. And that allows them to mix and match, keep guys fresh, and give Mahomes a whole bunch of different options in the passing game as well. When you add that to the fact that they've never had a group of 3 receiving tight ends like this. That's the other thing, too, is when you have Tunyon as your third tight end, they've
Yeah.
never had three guys who can stretch the field, work the middle, and be real threats in the passing game. Like, all due respect to Blake Bell, he was an H-back. He was a blocking tight end primarily. They did not have a guy like Robert Tunyon as tight end 3. So
well, I think, too, with Tunyon, he's a guy that obviously didn't catch an NFL pass last year, but he's a guy that spent time with the Chiefs. He got a little bit of, like what this offense is, and he got to have the playbook with them. He read the playbook, ran the playbook in practice. Then he got cut, but they brought him back. So I talked to him after the game, and I asked him the question of, your time last year with the Chiefs organization, do you think that helped you coming into training camp? And he said, yeah, I didn't need to, for the most part, learn the offense and the people that I was directly working with because I met them last year.
Yeah. I think him and Tyquan Thornton, that's been a big boost for both guys. Defense, I thought, played well. You could see makes a pretty big difference with the starters in there, particularly at linebacker. Ashton Gelati, I thought, showed really well, too. He's going to be hard to keep off the field this year,
Yeah.
I have a feeling. Speaking of the defense, we got to get here. Chiefs made a trade on Sunday.
Yeah, they did.
They went and got Derek Nottie. Matt Derrick had it first.
Yes, he did.
On Friday's show.
I was listening on my drive to Arrowhead.
And there was some speculation about this, that Nottie maybe wasn't going to make the Jets. And the Chiefs were looking for another big body run stopping defensive tackle. And they really didn't have that in-house. And Derek Nottie became available, and the Chiefs reacquired him on Sunday. There's a 6th and 7th round pick swap happening there between the Jets and the Chiefs as the compensation. My question about the trade, it means one of two things. Number one, it means they were always planning to keep 10 defensive linemen, and they weren't just going to keep 9. They were going to keep a 10th, regardless of Felix Anudike-Uzomah's injury status, that they were always going to keep 10 defensive linemen. And that means, if that is true, that they might only keep 3 tight ends, or they might only keep 3 running backs on the initial 53, which I think that is entirely a possible outcome here. The other thought I have is, and Matt Verderame just sort of brushed up against this point when we had him on in the 3 o'clock hour. What if Jerry Tillery isn't a slam dunk to make the team?
Yeah.
Like, what if he's a guy the Chiefs maybe didn't see enough out of, where they say, all right, we're going to move off of Tillery, and we're just going to go with Jones and Pennell and Norman Lott and Nottie, and those are going to be our guys. And it's not going to be too dissimilar to what we had last year, and we think Norman Lott can provide the Turk Wharton sort of skill set, but we'll just have those 4 defensive tackles and maybe, hope to slide Marlon Tuipulotu through the practice squad again. What if that's the plan? Like, I actually thought Tillery was okay from what I was able to observe from him in the preseason. Certainly didn't like the world on fire. He's reliable. He's a veteran. I would be a little surprised if he didn't make the team. I think the more likely outcome is they keep 10 with an extra defensive end. Malik Herring makes the roster. And then in the initial 53, you only have 3 tight ends. Maybe Jared Wiley's on the chopping block, although Wiley had a couple of good catches with the second team on Friday night. Maybe it's only 3 running backs to start the season. Maybe it's only 6 wide receivers, and Nico Remigio gets cut from the initial 53. I think that's more likely than it is that the Chiefs are going to cut Jerry Tillery, but that's a possibility. That's something to keep an eye on for tomorrow's cut day. Anything else stand out to you from the game itself Friday night?
Yes. So two guys that you heard quite often during Friday's game. Unfortunately, they are not going to make this roster. Kevin Knowles, defensive back. He made huge plays on special teams, and wide receiver Jimmy Holiday made a deep pass, or caught a deep pass down, which looked almost exactly like the one to Thornton. Like, they called the same play 2 quarters apart. And those are guys that you're hoping you can slip through to the practice squad. And if you need a back end guy at corner later in the season, maybe you call up or elevate for a game or two at some point during the season. But I think those are 2 guys that aren't going to make the team, but showed out on Friday night.
I think both guys have a shot to make the practice squad. I think Knowles really fits that Chiefs
Special teamer.
Sort of defensive back mold of being somebody who played safety, played outside, played slot in college at Florida State, and can contribute on special teams. I think he's definitely a practice squad candidate. Holiday, I'm not sure. They might have other guys at wide receiver. Like they might try and keep Jason Brownlee. I know Magdalena was a guy who had a good camp, but certainly Holiday made a really good case for himself, or at the bare minimum, put some good stuff on film in that preseason finale. Last thing we have to ask you about Friday night, because you were there.
Yeah.
And you were in the press box. Did the chicken fingers live up to the hype?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Now, we wanted to make sure.
Yes,
you
they
got
did.
that.
Also, they had hot dogs, too.
Listen, I'm so easy to please in a press box. Like,
Me too.
I go cover a Royals game, and they have a nice meal that you can, buy, pay for, that's made fresh, and you can do that at Kauffman Stadium in the press box. But they also just have hot dogs on a roller. And look, man, that's all I need. I'm probably going to eat more than one. I'm definitely going to eat more than one. I might even eat more than two. But that's all I need, man. Give me a hot dog. Give me some mustard. Give me some chopped onion. I'm set, man. I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Now, if you provide more, I will avail myself of it. But
I will say, you'll have to ask Matt Derrick about this on Friday because he was very, very hyped about this. So I put my stuff down, got in around 4:45, went and talked to him. And he was kind of giving me the lay of the land.
Sure.
You guys had talked to him and said it was my first time coming. So he was like, good to see you, man. Talked to them earlier and heard it was your first time coming. Blah, blah, blah. He was telling me what was going on. He goes, there is new little candy dispensers.
Oh.
So they had Sour Patch Kids, M&M's, Skittles, Reese's Pieces. And they were just the things at the store where you can twist and they come down like cereal at a hotel.
Sure.
Those things were,
man.
I got M&M's, but I guess they had 4 and they rotated. And once they got done, they put different things in it. So I had M&M's at 5:15 or whatever. I just put them by my stuff. And I'm like, those will come in handy during the game. And then when I went back to actually eat dinner around 6:15, when they had more food come out, there was Reese's Pieces. So I put Reese's Pieces and M&M's together, and that was my game snack. The best.
I'm not gonna lie. I would bring I don't know what the policy is on bringing your own beverage holder into the Arrowhead press box, but I'd bring a Stanley Cup and I'd fill it with Reese's Pieces. I sit there and you're gonna fill that with water? Nope, candy.
I don't know. It was great, but he was really happy about it. I'm gonna have to go get me some of these.
I know Matt's got a sweet tooth for sure. Well, we'll have to ask him about that when we have Matt on Friday. We're gonna take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back with our first round of What Is Wrong With You for this new week, the final full week of August. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. is time for What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories competing today. This is our final week of August, so we'll just have a short 3-day competition week. We'll crown a weekly champion for this week on Wednesday, and we'll have our monthly semifinals on Thursday and our championship for the month of August on Friday's show. 2 new stories today. I'll go first. We're going to the friendly skies. We meet 41-year-old British Airways flight attendant Hayden Pentecost, who was trying to join the Mile High Club, but not that way. He was just high, really high, and naked in an onboard toilet.
Wow.
He was working a flight from California to London when he started to become agitated, was described as sweating and babbling. A blood test later revealed Pentecost had meth and amphetamines in his system. Pentecost, who has been sacked, that's how you can tell the stories from the BBC, the British term. I always like that more than fired or lost there. I like sacked. Pentecost has been sacked. He pled guilty at Uxbridge Magistrates Court to performing an aviation function while impaired by drugs. What an awesome name for a crime. The court heard Pentecost had to be stood down by his manager when he failed to help with any pre-flight safety checks. After complaining of cramps and saying he had to change his clothes, he locked himself in one of the toilets where a colleague later found him naked and oblivious to the fact, the court was told. So he didn't have any clothes on, but he also didn't know why he didn't have any clothes on. He had dilated pupils, a high heart rate, and had to be checked every 20 minutes until the plane landed. Paramedics then took him to the hospital. They didn't turn it around. They were over the Atlantic Ocean. They're like, look, bud, you're just going to have to ride this out. Whatever this is, you have to ride it out until we get to jolly old England, pal. He is English himself. He's of Basingstoke. He was granted bail, will be sentenced at a later date. So, flight attendant did some drugs and took off all his clothes in an onboard toilet. Yep, that's the wrong kind of Mile High Club to join. What do you got today, Spencer?
Yes, we're going to Cincinnati, Ohio. Yes, that's Cincinnati Chiefs fans. 2 men were arrested.
Is there another Cincinnati that I don't know about?
I don't know. 2 men were arrested for allegedly breaking and entering into Paycor Stadium, the home of the Bengals. One facing charges for attempting to steal a barbecue smoker. They don't know if there's a connection between the two. According to court records from Hamilton County Municipal Court, Alex Wingert and Caleb Trong were arrested on Sunday morning after being caught in the act of breaking and entering into Paycor Stadium. Trong was caught on the stadium security cameras jumping over a locked fence and, quote, attempting to steal a barbecue smoker before being met with police when attempting to escape the stadium, per court documents. Triong allegedly fled back into the stadium, but was quickly apprehended by a canine unit.
Always a good plan to hide in the place that you broke into.
Yes.
That always ends well.
Less information was available about Wingert's arrest in the court records. However, the documents did confirm that he was arrested for breaking and entering into Paycor Stadium on the same day at around the same time as Triong, but no explicit connection was made between the 2 men. Both were charged with breaking and entering and were both set to be arraigned today at 9 a.m.
Tried to steal the barbecue smoker from the football stadium.
Yes. But how? How are you getting that out of there?
What was the plan? Yeah, how if you had to jump the fence, how are you going to get the smoker up over the fence?
I don't know.
And I don't know, you go to the Home Depot or something, they got all the barbecues laid out. Sometimes they have them out for display, outside the building in the summer months. Yeah. But they're tethered. They got bike locks to them. What?
Do you think he went to a preseason game and then
saw the smoker and
saw that the smoker wasn't tethered up to anything, and is you know what? I really want a smoker, but I'm not going to buy one. I'm going to go steal this one for Paycor Stadium.
I'm going to go steal one from a building that I know has a lot of security.
Yes.
An NFL football stadium. What a moron. That's so stupid. I didn't win today.
Yeah.
You're trying to steal a barbecue from an NFL stadium.
Yes. I had another story picked and I saw this last night and I said, nope, I got to change into this.
if you have to climb a fence to get in, you're going to have to climb it again to get out. You're not just walking out of there. This isn't like Ocean's 11. I'm just going to walk out the front door with Terry Benedict's however many $1 million. No, man, you're not walking out the front door of Paycor Stadium pushing a smoker along like, yeah, nobody's gonna give me a hard time. I'm smoker maintenance. That's what I am. I'm here to fix the smoker.
I need to take this smoker. We need to take it back to our facility where we do maintenance on it.
Maybe that.
What company? I'm not. I'm with us.
I'm with Greater Cincinnati Smoker Repair. The wood pellets are malfunctioning. We need to. It's very important that we get this fixed before week 1.
Why are you here at 2 a.m.?
Well, Bengals just gave Trey Hendrickson a bunch of money, so we know they could have afforded a new one if these guys had gotten away with it.
Maybe. But, I heard they're cheap people.
They are cheap people. They are extremely cheap. But, yeah, man, those guys win. Stealing a smoker from the Bengals stadium.
I mean, we don't even know if they're connected. We don't. Did 2 people break in at the same time?
But also we do, right? Like, the other guy was probably like meant to be a distraction. Maybe that was it. Like, he's going to distract you while the other guy walks out the front door with the smoker.
That he has to throw over the fence.
Yeah, like a discus. You grab it by the tray on one side and just huck it like a discus. That's our What Is Wrong With You for today. We'll come back. We'll talk some KU football. Jayhawks are 1-0. We'll talk about it next. .441 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you. K-State lost their opener on Saturday. We opened the show with that. Gut punch of a loss in Dublin. They have a stat. Bill Connolly keeps the number, friend of the show, Bill Connolly of ESPN. It's win expectancy. And Kansas State had a 78.6% win expectancy in that game against Iowa State. 78.6%. Obviously, they did not win the game, but it suggests that based on the play-by-play outcomes and the broad numbers, yards per play, success rate, EPA, all that stuff, K-State wins that game 78% of the time. But it's not what we got. Not the outcome that we got. Speaking of winning expectancies, Kansas had a 100.0% win expectancy against Fresno. And they won the game. 31-7 was the final as the reimagined David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium reopened in Lawrence on Saturday. That was, and I haven't been to a ton of KU football games, and the ones I've been to have been Sunflower Showdowns broadly. So that is typically a good atmosphere in Lawrence for football because you have the K-State fans that come in, and a lot of KU fans show up. The showdown in 2019, Les Miles' first year, was the first sellout at the booth in some time, as I recall. So, like, I've been around seeing, like, good atmospheres, but that was something different than I could recall on Saturday. That was a football crowd. They were excited to be there. They were excited for the new stadium. They were loud. The stripe out looked great. It looked great from the press box.
Oh, yeah, on video, on the show or on the game, it looked amazing.
Looked great on TV, and that's a credit to the fans because they only gave out T-shirts to the students. So the students were the only ones that were intentionally color coordinated, but everybody else played along broadly with the stripe out, and it looked great. And KU played really good football. You could not have asked for much more from Jalon Daniels, the offensive player of the week in the Big 12. More touchdowns than incompletions. That's pretty good. 18-20, 176, 3 scores. And he looked spry in a way that I don't think we've seen him look since 2022. Now, he took some pretty big hits in the third quarter of the game. There was a 3-play stretch where he got his world rocked on 3 straight plays. He got up and he looked fine, and he came back in the game after that. So nothing doesn't seem like to be concerned about for JD6 moving forward. He looked spry. He looked good on the ground. He was making guys miss in the pocket, scrambling, buying time, making throws, making scrambles, getting the ball out, distributing. It was a really outstanding game from Jalon Daniels. And if that's the version of Jalon Daniels that KU is going to get, they're going to come a lot closer to their ceiling as a team this year than their floor. But I'm probably more excited about what I saw from the defense because I'm about to use a word that I don't think I've ever used to describe a Kansas defense. Not on this show, anyway. I've only been on it since 2016. But I've never used this word to describe a Kansas Jayhawks defense before right now. They were fast. They were fast. Second play of the game, Bengali Kamara, and look, he missed the tackle. KU was not flawless on defense. First drive, they gave up a bunch of extra yards after contact, missed some tackles, gave up a touchdown on the opening drive, and that was not particularly impressive, the missed tackles. I do not mean to necessarily glorify a play on which Bengali Kamara missed a tackle. It wasn't that he missed the tackle. That was not impressive to me. It was how quickly he got to a position where he could miss a tackle. He flew into the backfield. That is the kind of speed. Look, I thought Cornell Wheeler was really solid in the middle of the KU defense last year. And certainly they missed him when he didn't play. When he was hurt, there was a distinct drop-off in how good KU was defensively. Cornell Wheeler was a good player last year. But this is a different kind of speed at which KU is operating at linebacker with Kamara and with Trey Lathan. Those guys were flying. The secondary, it's a young group, lots of new faces. Those guys were flying around. Lyric Rawls, flying around. It's a back seven that looks like it's going to be able to play with some speed. And that's always been a shortcoming. It's been something that KU's tried to inject into their defense, and they just haven't really had it, certainly haven't had it at linebacker the last couple of years. That's not to say they haven't had some solid players. They have. But you got to get to the ball carrier in a hurry. You got to get to the backfield in a hurry. You have to be able to react. You have to be able to get sideline to sideline. And in Kamara and Latham, it appears that Kansas has a pair of linebackers who are as fast as any they've had in quite some time. So I was impressed with those guys. I was impressed with Leroy Harris coming off the edge. Harris started because Dean Miller didn't play. And I'll tell you right now, it'll be hard to keep Leroy Harris off the field because he was what I was most impressed with when it came to him was all of the places he would pop up to make plays. He lined up with his hand in the dirt. He lined up as a stand-up rusher. He made some plays on the interior, getting across the line, kind of riding his block into the middle of the line to help make tackles in the running game. He's a transfer from Chattanooga, so he's not even a FBS transfer. He's an FCS guy, and he's just a sophomore. But that's a player it looks like has to be on the field. You're going to have to get him some reps. You're going to have to get goodness gracious, I've forgotten his first name. Caldwell. You have to get Caldwell on the field. Keenan Caldwell, number 97. Keenan Caldwell played a really good football game on Saturday. He was everywhere when he came in rotationally behind DJ Withers and Tommy Dunn. He got into the backfield. He was impactful, both as a pass rusher and as somebody who could play the run. I don't think anybody has long-term questions about how good the offense can be for KU as long as Daniels is upright. They ran the ball good. The offensive line there were some hiccups. They were a little sloppy. There were some holding calls. Kobe Baines got flagged twice. You're not going to see that happen very often. It wasn't perfect all the way down the line, but you know that with a quarterback with that kind of experience, with some of the speed it looks like they have on the perimeter, Cam Pickett, with the ability they have on running back to keep fresh legs in the game, although it doesn't sound like LaShawn Williams is going to be available for Friday against Wagner. That's probably more precautionary than anything.
So Cam Pickett was hiding out at Ball State for the last couple of years.
Yes.
Great player.
That was a guy that at the end of fall camp, because all the buzz all spring and summer and at Big 12 Media Days, we were talking about Emmanuel Henderson. And look, you can see that Henderson's got some real speed. You can see how he can be impactful. But towards the end of camp, there were a lot of people starting to say, you know who's been every bit as impressive and is going to also play a big role in this passing game is going to be Cam Pickett. And, he caught 2 touchdowns, showed the ability to get out with speed, some of those RPOs into the flat. Very impressive debut for him. Looked like he came out a little dinged, and maybe we don't see him as much on Friday against Wagner because it's Wagner. You don't need to see a lot of your best guys when it's an FCS opponent like Wagner.
Yeah,
Jalon
Daniels
week.
Probably won't play that much if they get out to it.
Ideally, he'll play until the game's in hand.
Until it's 30-0.
You'd love to be able to get there. You'd like to think you can get there in that scenario. But
hey, I think they can.
But again, back to what the point I want to make here is that we know there's a decent ceiling for this offense. That's never been in question. The defense to me showed physical traits that I think maybe give it a little bit higher ceiling than I anticipated because they are going to be athletic. They've got to clean up the missed tackles. Obviously, you're going to get Dean Miller healthy, and their corners are going to be tested more against better wide receivers. Fresno State's strength on their offense is at running back. They don't have a ton of great wide receiver talent. Obviously, that's going to change. KU is going to face some good wide receivers, starting with Mizzou in their third game and then on forward from there. So those guys will be tested. But speed and depth, I thought, were very promising for game 1 for the Jayhawks at the reimagined David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. We're going to take a timeout here in 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back, wrap up the 4 o'clock hour next. Wrapping up the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. I referred to K-State's loss in their opener, their week 0 game in Ireland, as a gut punch. And a text from the 785 said that, talk about a gut punch. How about Avery Johnson's dad and brother after the game? That was not an intentional reference to any extracurriculars that have occurred or did occur outside of Avia Stadium after the game. I already spoke my piece on that. But I'll ask you, because I alluded to this in the good, the bad, the ugly. So I'll just ask you, Spencer, you ever try to fight your dad?
No.
You ever square up on your old man?
No.
Some people talk about that like it's like a rite of passage. Like, yeah, I was 16. I thought I could square up on my old man and he'd beat my ass. Like,
I think there's one reason and one reason only this happened. There was too many Guinnesses consumed.
Yes, it's one of those detectives believe alcohol was involved for sure. But like the idea of squaring up on your dad.
I couldn't.
I couldn't either. It never occurred to me. And it's not like, I mean, my dad and I, we're about the same height. I probably outweigh him a little bit. But like it's never occurred to me like, all right, I'm going to prove like the movie Hot Rod, where Andy Samberg's here like got to beat up his stepdad to prove he's a man or whatever it is. It never occurred to me that I would just like, okay, this is the rite of passage of my life, and I am going to square up with my dad, and I'm gonna beat him in hand-to-hand combat. Like, never occurred to me for that to happen. So either there's a family dynamic there that is just unspeakable, or maybe alcohol is was the cause of some of the, and I don't think it's a maybe.
We have a minute here. I can tell you the story. So I know you and Brendan don't use the app TikTok, but I got on TikTok last night, and there's social creators is what you call them. They go and they ask questions, random questions to people, either outside of events or at events.
Yeah.
There was some social media guy that asked his brother some question in the third quarter.
Interesting.
And it's on video.
Really?
And the guy commented, yeah, this was like heading into the fourth quarter.
Okay.
This was between the third into the fourth quarter.
Okay.
And I was like, what happened? I would love to know exactly what happened between after that interview took place and then the fight happened.
I understand feeling that way. At the same time, I feel like this is one of those things, the less I know, the better.
I guess.
Like, I don't need to know the entire family history. I really don't. And if they're sorry about it and they're embarrassed by it and they apologize for it, that's good enough for me. It will have zero impact on K-State, North Dakota on Saturday. Zero impact. It will have less than zero impact in all likelihood. Coming up in the final hour of 580 Sports Talk, we know I'm Mitch Holtis. That'll be weird. We've had Mitch every day in the final hour of 580 Sports Talk for the last month. Not today, because training camp preseason reports are done with. We'll still talk to Mitch throughout the season, but no Mitch today. Instead, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. A lot happening in the NFL today to get to, and also a big winner's circle segment. And we'll talk some baseball. The Royals playoff odds, they got a little worse over the weekend, but it's still a 1-in-4 chance, slightly better, according to one source. We'll talk about Red Hot Vinny Pasquantino and more. That's all coming up on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and our streaming video available on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Go subscribe to the YouTube if you have not done so, because we are getting closer and closer to that magical 800 subscriber mark. Why is it magical? Because when we get there, Brendan Brzezinski and I are going to arm wrestle on camera, live on an episode of 580 Sports Talk. But we need 8 more subscribers to get there. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, today's a great day to do it. Go subscribe over at 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on Facebook, like I mentioned, WIBW News. You can find us on the front page. Whenever we're on the air, you can go to our website, 580WIBW.com, and you can watch the YouTube stream there. Also, if you go to 580WIBW.com, you will see on the front page the 2025 Pigskin and Hoops preview, our 39th year of doing high school sports preview content for Northeast Kansas, our second year as an online-only publication. We are continuing to publish daily new season previews. Today, we published Oskaloosa, Osage City, and Mission Valley. Tomorrow, we'll publish McLouth and Linden. We're working backwards alphabetically this year. And by the end of this week, on Friday, we will publish Care Paravel and Burlingame, and that will be that. That will be everyone. We will have published at that point all 28 of our preseason Pigskin and Hoops football previews. We'll do basketball in November like we did last year. It's one of the perks of publishing online only is we can wait and make sure we have the most up-to-date information for basketball when we get those all written and published out in mid to late November. But all the football previews will be published by Friday, and you can find them all at our website, 580WIBW.com. I know people ask, and people are curious, hey, you guys still do that Pigskin and Hoops? Can't find it where I used to be able to find it. It is on the internet. That is where it lives. That is where it will live throughout the season. You can refer back to it. Bookmark the table of contents page. It's at 580WIBW.com. Our Pigskin and Hoops previews. And if you've been following us on our social channels, follow us on our Facebook page, WIBW News, or follow us on X at 580 Sports Talk. We've been posting the previews as we have been publishing them every weekday. We did 3 every weekday last week. We'll do more every weekday this week until all 28 previews are published. The 39th Pigskin and Hoops preview high school football guide for Northeast Kansas. You can catch it at our website, 580WIBW.com. Still to come this hour on the show, the Royals dropped 2 out of 3 to the Tigers over the weekend. Could have won them all, but had to settle for just 1 win on Sunday. We'll talk about what that means for their playoff hopes. And is Bobby Witt Jr. an MVP candidate again? One prominent baseball writer is arguing that he should be. We will discuss that. Right now, the most valuable Royal, most valuable player in the National League this last week is his teammate Vinny Pasquantino. We'll talk about what he has been doing of late as well. Some final thoughts on the sports weekend that was. And again, your thoughts on the text line, 785-272-9429. And your comments on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, or on our Facebook page at WIBW News. But we begin with headlines today, as we always do, and there are 2 big NFL headlines to get to today. 2 players who have been holding in throughout the NFL preseason have agreed to terms on contract, well, 1 extension and 1 raise, let's call it that. And the drama is over in Washington for Terry McLaurin, and it is over in Cincinnati for Trey Hendrickson. We'll go in sequential order as how everything was announced. It was earlier this morning when the Commanders reached a 3-year contract extension agreement with their star wide receiver, Terry McLaurin. It is worth up to $96 million. It is a $30 million signing bonus to go along with the deal as well. Matt Verderame said he's not surprised. It ended up coming in at $96 million a year. But let's ask our DC sports correspondent, Spencer Dupuis, is this about what you expected it would ultimately be between team and player here?
It's a little bit higher. I mean, 30 million signing bonus was, everyone's saying it's about 32 mil a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 29 and a half to 30. So the team really, I think, folded a little bit on it, but they didn't want to wait too long, right? Like, and I really don't know. So there's been all this word. So he came off the PUP list last Saturday, and they said he's been ramping up. So he hasn't been practicing, but he's been ramping up as if he was rehabbing from an injury, which there was really no injury. Anyway, they put him on the PUP list for no reason, but sigh of relief. I think it's going to take a few games for him to get into game shape. I think Dan Orlovsky said it great on the Pat McAfee show today when Ian Rapport was guest hosting, and he said something along the lines of like, by the time they get to between game 4 and game 6, I think you're going to see the Terry McLaurin that you're used to seeing. But I think it's going to take a few games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they limited his snaps in the first couple games just to make sure he's up to speed and doesn't have any of those soft tissue injuries.
So it's only the 30 million signing bonus that is guaranteed that I know of. I'm trying to look and see. They don't have the details on Spotrac of the contract yet. So I guess we don't know the final details. Somebody in the text line from the 785 asked about the guaranteed money. We know 30 million is guaranteed as a signing bonus, but or there is a signing bonus, $30 million, but not sure how much of the 96 million is guaranteed. The official terms of the deal have not, I believe, been fully disclosed.
Yeah, there's no the guarantees and 2-year cash have not yet been disclosed according to Spotrac.
Yeah, so that's where things stand there. But
sigh of relief.
Washington had to do it. They had to keep the good vibes going and pay their best quarterback they've had in a generation his best wide receiver. They had to do it, and they did it, and McLaurin will be ready to go for week 1. Also,
yeah, and I think everybody knew it was going to get done.
Yeah,
right? like Jalon Daniels said he wasn't worried. Like, literally, he talked with Diana Rossini last week, I think, in like a 5-minute, an exclusive interview with her, and she asked him straight up, and he goes, "No, I'm not worried. He'll be here."
Yeah, and it took the entire preseason for the Commanders to do the thing that they were always going to do, and given the money that the market suggested they were going to have to give him anyway. And if he does, struggle out of the gate, or if he's not in game shape, or if he's if the offense is sputters a bit, if McLaurin's not fully activated for those first couple of weeks, if he's not his best version of himself for those first couple of weeks, the Commanders could look in the mirror on that one and kind of blame themselves, because it didn't need to get to this point. They just could have given him this money 3 weeks ago.
They could, but also part of me thinks, had this new regime not been here, we would have talked about Terry McLaurin having the richest contract ever that a receiver had, because Daniel Snyder would say, pay him and make it happen, whatever he wants. Like he did with a lot of people, including Albert Ainsworth, Deion Sanders, just a lot. Donovan McNabb, they signed him to a dumb extension after they traded for him. Like, I'm just happy that we're away from those antics. Like, we have a real GM running the team that is, while we missed our franchise wide receiver during the preseason, I'm just happy that it wasn't 36 mil a year, highest guaranteed to a receiver, because Dan Snyder wanted it done.
Also today, it's not a contract extension, but it is a healthy raise for Bengals star defensive end Trey Hendrickson. He's going to get $14 million added on to his 2025 salary, taking him up to $30 million in total. And that's the end of that saga. Hendrickson will practice and will play for the Bengals, and then he will hit unrestricted free agency after this season. It's a interesting denouement. Again, something that could have been done several weeks ago if the Bengals were resolute in their desire to not give Trey Hendrickson a long-term contract. They had the money to give him a raise. Just give him the raise and be done with it. Say, okay, look, we don't want to do anything long-term, but we'll pay you $30 million for this year instead of $16 million. Closer to what you're actually worth. You'll make $30 million this year, and then you hit the open market next year. We won't stand in your way. That's a really easy thing to have just done at the beginning of preseason, the beginning of training camp. Instead, it dragged on through all the preseason, and Hendrickson had not participated in any offseason workouts. So we'll see how activated he is for the season to start. Congratulations to the Bengals. They managed to do it for 2025. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson are all going to play for the Bengals in 2025. I don't think anybody would have predicted that would end up happening back at the end of the 2024 season. So congratulations for the Bengals, to the Bengals for making that happen and for having now one good defensive player. That's all they got. Anyway, next headline, Spencer.
Yes, we talked about this earlier, but we talked about the game earlier as Kansas beat Fresno State 31-7. Jalon Daniels, 90% passing in the contest, 3 touchdown passes. He's named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. And the KU offensive line named the Beef of the Week for the Big 12, which is their offensive line of the week, which is brought to you by, what is it? Old Trapper?
Is it?
I think it is Old Trapper Beef Jerky.
Is it really?
Yes, they posted on social media. One of the best sponsorships I think ever.
I had some of that yesterday. It was not a perfect weekend for the KU offensive line. A couple of uncharacteristic penalties by the likes of Kobe Baines, but look, they kept Jalon pretty clean and paved the way for a big rushing performance. Bryce Foster looked fine, no worries about his injury, which was really good to see. They rotated the guys they said they were going to rotate. It looked like more snaps for Cruz than Goretzka at right tackle. It looked like more snaps for Herring than I'm not going to pronounce it right. Tavaki T. I'm not going to get his last name right. Tui Kovalatu. Tui Kovalatu. That's what it is. Michael Swain does so well pronouncing that name. It looked like more snaps for Herring than Tui Kovalatu at the left guard spot, but they did rotate those positions, and the returning starters look good. Calvin Clements played really well. Bryce Foster didn't look encumbered by his offseason injury, so it was a good performance for them. And yeah, Jalon Daniels was great. He had more touchdown passes than incompletions. Typically, when that is the case, you've had yourself a pretty good ball game.
Yeah.
And that was the case for Jalon Daniels. Let's do some more NFL headlines. Go back to the NFL. We mentioned this when we talked about Verderame in the 3 o'clock hour. Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers has requested a trade. He's entering the final year of his contract. According to ESPN, Las Vegas has no plans to move on from Myers. He's making $10.5 million this year with a $14.98 million cap hit, but doesn't have any guaranteed money remaining on the deal. I think Myers is about as underrated as they come at wide receiver in the NFL. He's got over 800 yards in 4 of his 6 seasons, caught 87 passes for over 1,000 yards last year with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell throwing him the ball. Only 1 dropped pass. The other wide receivers, don't look. Spencer, if you're looking, don't look. Can you name another wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders? And don't say Brock Bowers. He doesn't count.
They just signed one Amari Cooper.
They did just sign Amari Cooper.
So that's literally within like the last 30 minutes.
They did. They did sign Amari Cooper.
That's the only one I can name.
The former Raider. What? You're not up on Trey Tucker?
Nope.
How about Jack Beck, the rookie at TCU? I actually kind of like him.
I think I know who Jack Beck. Is his brother the one, Tiger Beck?
That was killed in
New Orleans?
Yes, yes, unfortunately, yes. Dante Thornton also on the team, rookie from Tennessee. But, like, that's your wide receiver room.
Jeez.
It's Jacoby Myers, washed Amari Cooper, Trey Tucker, and 2 rookies. Maybe they're not going to pay Jacoby Myers. Nobody asks for a trade that really wants to be traded. Like, you ask for a trade, what you really want is a new contract, especially when you're doing it this late in the game. You don't want to go be traded, go have to learn a new playbook, be down on the depth chart on a new team. You don't really want that. You just want attention. You want attention and some more money. And we'll see if the Raiders float any of that for him. But they also did sign Amari Cooper today to a 1-year deal. I'm not sure he's got a whole lot left in the tank either, but that is a really grim wide receiver room.
It really is.
Like, there are reasons for optimism for the Raiders. There really and truly are. You don't even have to squint. I still believe that if Pete Carroll is your coach, there's only but so bad you're going to be. Pete Carroll is a floor raiser as a head coach, as a guy in charge of your sideline. You are a serious football team if he's your coach. And they've got, Max Crosby and Brock Bowers. They have some premium talent. They have the best quarterback they've had in a long time in Geno Smith. Probably the best since Rich Gannon, honestly. I think Geno's better than Derek Carr ever was. But, man, they got a lot of holes on that team. Their secondary stinks. Their wide receiver room is really grim.
I mean, look, the Raiders by far have the worst wide receiver room in the AFC West.
Oh, and that's saying something because the Broncos isn't any great shakes. Like, they've got Sutton, who's really nice, and then a bunch of unproven guys. And the Chargers is Ladd McConkey and a whole lot of nothing.
Keenan Allen.
Washed Keenan Allen.
Trey Harris, second-round pick this year.
Yeah, lot of rookies in this. But
I think theirs is by far the worst of the 4 in the division, and that's clearly...
it is. It's saying something. How about another headline, Spencer?
I got one more NFL note. This has
Sure.
to do with the AFC and contenders in the AFC. Houston Texans running back Joe Mixon will miss at least the first 4 games of the season because he is going to the short-term IR after being on the PUP list, make him ineligible to play at least the first 4 games of the year. So another loss for the Texans heading into the season.
So a lot of questions about Mixon's availability. They've got Nick Chubb, which I did not realize until I was doing my fantasy football draft on Saturday and saw Nick Chubb, HOU. I had totally forgotten that that's where he ended up. They still got Dameon Pierce, man. Remember him? Remember when he was going to be the next guy and had totally fallen off? They've got some issues at the skill spots too. They've got Nick Chubb, who's made of tissue paper, Dameon Pierce, who's just completely regressed. Their wide receiver room is Nico Collins and Hope somebody else
Christian
emerges. They did re-sign Christian.
Hey,
Kirk,
they got Chief Great Justin Watson. He's still on the roster as of this minute.
Oh, I'm sure he'll make the team. I can't
Braxton
imagine.
Berrios, Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson.
Man, you know what's making me feel really good about
Cornell Powell, Chief Great.
You know what's making me feel really good about the Chiefs wide receiver room? Hearing about the wide receiver rooms that all these other teams have. Like, all of these teams that we're talking about wish they had a wide receiver 5 as good as Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
You wish. You wish you had a wide receiver 3 as good as Juju Smith-Schuster. If you're the Broncos or the Raiders, my goodness. And that's another guy who I would say is, a little past his best.
Regress, yes.
But that's fine if he's your 5th guy. A little less fine if he's your 2nd guy. Let's finish up our 580 Sports Talk headlines by visiting the winner's circle from the weekend. We'll start on the links. Finally, it happened for Tommy Fleetwood. He is a winner on the PGA Tour, and he picked a fine time for his first career win, the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup playoffs, and the $10 million that come with it. Fleetwood a winner by 3 shots over Patrick Cantlay and Russell Henley at the Tour Championship at East Lake in Atlanta. Fleetwood had so many close calls, including one this year where he had a 1-shot lead on the 72nd hole. I think it was the Travelers, and he 3-putted and lost to Keegan Bradley. He had the lead on Sunday at the FedEx St. Jude 2 weeks ago and didn't win. Super popular guy. There were a lot of players. Like Justin Rose was standing in the gallery filming the final putt on his phone like a Little League dad.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of the more popular players among other players, but also among fans on tour. Just a super likable guy, super down-to-earth guy. And a lot of people really, really happy for Tommy Fleetwood to bring it home. A PGA tour and professional golf season that was marked by a lot of feel-good stories. Rory McIlroy at the Masters, obviously, and it ends with another feel-good story. Tommy Fleetwood, finally a winner on the PGA Tour. In NASCAR, Ryan Blaney's second win of the season on the Cup Series comes at Daytona. Thrilling finish in Daytona in the final race before the playoffs. All 5 of the guys who finished second through 6th would have made the playoffs if they could have gotten by Blaney and won the race. But Blaney beat them all, so none of them made the playoffs.
Yeah, there's also, I can't remember who it is now off the top of my head, but somebody was leading with like 5 or 6 laps to go, and if they looked like they were going to lead the rest of the way, and they got uppercutted as a racer was coming up. I can't remember who it is now, and he spun out. They lost him, and then Blaney takes the lead, and they go 4 wide to finish the race. Nearly a photo finish.
Yeah, really good stuff there, and Blaney was the winner, so he makes the field for the Sprint Cup playoff field.
Wait, is it? It's the Sprint Cup playoff field?
Yes, that's what it is referred to over at ESPN.com. So if they're wrong, I'm wrong.
They went back to Sprint Cup?
I think so. That's what. Sure. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because Sprint hasn't been a thing for a long time. But yeah, that's ESPN being wrong, flat out.
Yeah, it's just the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I thought maybe it was like the sprint for the Cup or something like that, and maybe it was just phrased awkwardly over at ESPN. I don't know. But yeah.
They really don't have, besides Marty Smith, not a lot of people doing NASCAR content.
Apparently not. Apparently the folks over the Worldwide Leader are giving NASCAR some short shrift, because the graphic I'm looking at says NASCAR Sprint Cup playoff field, and I thought, well, maybe it's like the sprint for the Cup, because like, I used to have Sprint service. I don't know more. It's T-Mobile. Like, I know Sprint's not really in the game like that anymore. But I thought maybe it was just like missing a word or two. No, they just got dated information. Thanks, Worldwide Leader, making me sound like a maroon. Anyway, the field for the playoffs in NASCAR: Denny Hamlin, Shane Van Gisbergen, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, our guy, friend of the program, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, Austin Dillon, and the 2 wild cards who got in on points without winning a race, Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman. I am not enough of an expert to know who's going to win the playoff, but I do know this. Don't think there are any races on road courses. Yep. So it's not going to be SVG. Anybody but him, unless they start running road courses in the playoffs. Anyway. Also,
he might petition NASCAR to start it.
Yeah, he really might. Like, hey, can we get like another Watkins Glen race in September? Come on, for me. Anyway, last thing from the winner's circle: Chinese Taipei wins their first Little League World Series since 1996, their 18th all time. Lin Chinsei threw a 1-hitter to beat Nevada 7-0. Chinese Taipei allowed 3 runs total in all of their games in Williamsport. Wow. And they were all in one game against Venezuela. They are the first international champion of the Little League World Series since 2017. It is the 18th time that a team from Chinese Taipei, or as they know it, Taiwan, has won the Little League World Series. There's a bit of a fraught geopolitical history there. The country competes as Chinese Taipei in international competition. It is something of a compromise, but they all refer to the country itself or the island itself as Taiwan. That's a conversation for a very different radio program. We will take a break. When we come back, the Royals were on the diamond, the big league diamond, over the weekend, and it could have been 3 wins for Kansas City. They had to settle for just 1. We'll talk about why next on 580 Sports Talk. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. A little less than a half an hour to go on this Monday. At 6 o'clock, Royals Baseball Network takes over. Royals and White Sox at Rate Field in Chicago tonight. First of a 3-game series. Your starting pitchers tonight, Shane Smith for the White Sox, Noah Cameron for the Royals. Get back into tonight's game in just a little bit. Over the weekend, Royals had their chances. They did. They had the chance to win all 3 of those games over the Tigers. They were ahead on Friday before the bullpen melted down. Saturday just could not get over that late hump and lost 4-2. And then Sunday was a roller coaster. Man, I'm starting to think, Spencer, not that I would ever accuse Rob Manfred of doing anything untoward. I think we've got a baseball that is traveling differently than it was traveling in the first couple of months of this season.
So I think we put saying the balls are juiced?
You're saying that. I'm saying that I think there is a different baseball in play because I'm watching balls get out of the park that I didn't think I had any business getting out of the park. I don't know how Spencer Torkelson homered off of Lucas Erceg on Sunday. That pitch is a sinker down and in, and Torkelson gets the fat part of the bat to the ball, but that was a home run. Like a routine fly ball, and it ends up 4 or 5 rows up in the stands in right field. Turns a 3-run Royals lead into a 2-run lead. Only a 3rd home run. I think Erceg's given up all year. He doesn't give up home runs. I have no idea how that ball got out. Ball is just jumping. And neither starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty or Seth Lugo, had anything going on Sunday. Royals jumped out to the 6-1 lead. Lugo almost immediately gave it all back. It was 7-6 Tigers. Royals battled back, retook the lead on Kyle Isbell's 2-run single, and they end up winning it 10-8. We don't talk enough about this trait that the Royals have. This is a very resilient baseball team. And I think we have seen it over and over in 2025. We saw it with how they bounced back from that early spell where they lost. They had that terrible road trip. Remember that early season road trip that was just a dismal mess. They went to New York and got swept, and they lost 3 out of 4 to Detroit. And what did they do after falling to 8-14 on the season? They had their best stretch of the season right after. They won 16 of 18 after that. They had a terrible June. Well documented. Nothing went right in June. They went 8-18. They had 2 different 6-game losing streaks in the month of June. What did they do after that? Rebounded with a 15-9 July, and they're 13-9 now in the month of August. They played really good baseball after a month. That June swoon could have been it. They were buried in the standings. They're 14 games out of first place and in 4th place at the end of June. And now here they are in 2nd place. Now here they are only 3 games out of a playoff spot. Baseball References playoff odds have them at 26.1% to make the playoffs. Fangraphs a little more negative. That tends to be the case. Fangraphs has them at 17.2% to make the playoffs. But look, everywhere you look this year, it's in how they responded to that early season nightmare road trip in April. It's how they responded to a miserable June swoon. It's what they've done in series finales this year, finding ways to win series finales, whether that's a win in a rubber game or whether that's a win like Sundays to avoid a sweep. This is a team that I think has a great deal of mental fortitude. And I think you can chalk that up to a team that grew up last year and has some guys in that clubhouse who are, we don't think of them like veteran leaders because they're still in their 20s, but like Vinny Pasquantino's been around a while now.
Yeah.
And Bobby Witt Jr.'s been around a while. Those guys are veteran voices who've been to the playoffs, who understand what it takes. And I think that we do not give the Royals enough credit for being a resilient crew. It is why they still have the opportunity that they have to reach the playoffs, even though, again, the odds are not necessarily in their favor. The fact that the odds still exist at all is a credit to how this team has responded to some difficult times and to some difficult stretches this season. They're 3 back of Seattle, 3.5 back of New York, 4 back of Boston. Those two teams beat each other up over the weekend. And the Royals now go into a series that they probably ought to win against the White Sox. One other reason, well, there are several reasons. One other reason that the Royals have been really good since the calendar flipped to July. We know that early in the season, probably through the month of May, we'd already decided that there was no American League MVP race, that it was going to be Aaron Judge because he was having another preposterous season. And look, Aaron Judge still leads all of Major League Baseball in wins above replacement, according to Baseball Reference, and he is tied for the lead according to Fangraphs. So Aaron Judge is still your front runner for MVP. And then through late May, June, July, Cal Raleigh has started hitting home runs.
The big dumper.
He's not. I hate that nickname so much.
I said that on purpose.
I know you did. So stupid. I'm not calling another man's rear end his dumper. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Have some self-respect, Cal. Have some self-respect, man. Don't let people call you that. Anyway, don't let him call your butt that. Lots of ways to refer to a man's posterior that are better than that. Anyway, he has not stopped hitting home runs. He broke Salvador Perez's record over the weekend for the most home runs in a season by a catcher. He's up to 49. It is not out of the question he gets to 60.
It's not. I think it's going to be an unbreakable record for a catcher.
Yeah.
You don't see catchers that slug like he does.
Catchers don't do this. It's unbelievable what he's doing. And he's also quite good defensively. So much so that Fangraphs wins above replacement, which really rates catcher defense, particularly framing, and gives a lot of weight to that. I think that's stupid, but that's another conversation for another day. They actually have Raleigh equal with Judge when it comes to wins above replacement over at Fangraphs. Third in the American League in wins above replacement in Fangraphs is Bobby Witt Jr. Joe Sheehan, who writes a baseball newsletter, used to write for Sports Illustrated Baseball Prospectus. He writes a baseball newsletter you can subscribe to at joesheehan.com. He's got a free piece out today about Bobby Witt Jr. and says that if we're having an AL MVP debate, you can't have it without the Royals shortstop. Sheehan writes, Witt isn't having the offensive season he did a year ago after posting career best and everything in 2024. He's fallen short of those marks in 2025, striking out a little more, walking a little less, not hitting the ball quite as well. But he makes up the ground everywhere else. He's a plus defender at shortstop. He's one of the best base runners in the game, both in terms of stealing bases, 34 steals, 83% success rate, and taking extra bases on hits, which he does 56% of the time. He takes the extra base. That means first to third or second to home on a single, first to home on a double. Takes the extra base 56% of the time, and he's only made 2 base running outs this year. He's not doing any of this playing out the string either, writes Sheehan. Witt has been the best player on a Royals team that's 20-14 in the second half. In the second half, in fact, Witt has been the 3rd best player in the AL behind a pair of A's, Nick Kurtz and Shea Langoliers. All games count the same, so I'm not a fan of waiting the second half or September or any piece of the season more than the others. But let's acknowledge that since the All-Star break, Bobby Witt Jr. has been worth more wins above replacement than Raleigh and Judge combined. 1.9 for Witt, 1.4 for Raleigh and Judge combined. He's made up nearly 2 wins on Judge in 5 weeks and almost 1 on Raleigh. Were he to do anything like that again over the next 5 weeks, Sheehan writes, which isn't out of the question, he'd be right there with the 2 favorites statistically. Either way, he's going to end up having a season that is MVP caliber, except for the historic thing that either an all-time great in Aaron Judge or the greatest home run hitting season by a catcher ever in Cal Raleigh is better than.
Yeah.
So spare a thought for Bobby Witt Jr., who in a different universe might be cruising to his 2nd straight American League MVP right now. He's been really good. Vinny Pasquantino's been off the freaking charts. He homered again on Sunday. And his
every game.
Well, that's because it has been 6 of the last 7 games and 9 home runs in the last 14 games for Vinny Pasquantino. In that 2-week stretch, He's hitting .309 with an .873 OPS. Really starting to provide the power in the middle of that lineup. It's been fun to see that from Vinny. And
You know who's trying to take the credit for this?
who's that?
Quick Trip. So he's in this new Quick Trip commercial where, you know, after the post game where the Royals dunk whoever's getting interviewed with Goldberg on FanDuel Sports Network. Well, he is dunking employees at QT with this big one that he says he has one at home. It's a big cup, obviously, the QT cup. They quote tweeted or quote X'd, whatever it is, the Royals posting of Vinny Pasquantino being named American League Player of the Week. 93 games pre-Vinny video shoot for this commercial. He only had 15 homers, 56 RBIs, and the Royals were 45 and 48. 37 games since that video shoot. Vinny has had 13 homers, 36 RBIs, and the Royals are 22 and 15. QT trying to get in on the action.
Hey, listen. They're building in Topeka, so we can talk about QT. We can reference that. Now, look, whatever works, man. If what's the line from Bull Durham? If you believe that you're playing well because you're wearing women's underwear, then you are. Then that's why. So if he thinks that QT gives him the fuel or that commercial gave him the boost, then that's what's happening.
Well, he doesn't. QT does.
Vinny and Bobby both in the lineup tonight for the Royals, as you'd expect against right-handed pitcher Shane Smith for the White Sox. It'll be Mike Yastrzemski leading off in right field, followed by Witt at short and Pasquantino at first. Michael Garcia is hitting cleanup. Salvador Perez is behind the plate. Adam Frazier's at second base. Jonathan India is the DH. Michael Massey is back in the lineup tonight. He has returned from his rehab assignment. The Royals sent down John Rave, who got off to a hot start after the All-Star break, but had really cooled down the last couple of weeks, and he had options available. So Michael Massey is back. The Royals had to make a decision on him one way or another, and the decision is that Massey is back, and he'll play left field and bat eighth tonight. Kyle Isbell batting ninth in center field. In support of Noah Cameron, the left-hander and his 2.53 earned run average will face this White Sox lineup tonight, full of right-handers, 7 right-handers and 2 switch hitters. Chase Mydroth is the shortstop, Miguel Vargas at first, Edgar Cuero is the DH. Lenin Sosa, the team leader in home runs with 17, is at second base hitting cleanup. Luis Robert Jr. bats fifth and plays center field. Curtis Mead is the third baseman. Royal great Michael A. Taylor is in right field. Corey Lee does the catching, and Brooks Baldwin is in left field batting ninth. Royals will start at 6:40 tonight from Rate Field in Chicago. Pregame coverage coming up 15 minutes here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll take one break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, some final thoughts from the first football weekend of the year. That's next on 580 WIBW. 5:48 on 580 Sports Talk. We are rounding third, heading for home on this Monday edition. Our first real football weekend. I know it was only 5 games that featured FCS games, but it was great to have meaningful football on the television. Great to have meaningful football in the Sunflower State. Great to get out to the booth, see KU dominate Fresno State. How much football did you watch on Saturday, Spence?
Well, I woke up after getting back at 2 a.m. from
Hey, you were burning the midnight oil at Arrowhead. That was a long game.
It
man.
was. I mean, though I was telling you earlier that we were sitting there waiting for the game to end, and it ends at like 10:30 after we thought it was going to end at like 10:10 or 10:15. Oh no! So I got home at 2 a.m. and I slept 8.5 hours. Got up, took a shower, turned on the TV at 11 a.m. to watch.
Perfect timing.
The
there wasn't
football classic.
There wasn't college game day, so you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, which a little disappointed, but I understand why. Yeah, and then I proceeded to watch college football all day, except for we took an hour break and watched the little hour tribute to Corso.
Did you download the Mountain West Conference app to watch any of UNLV Idaho State?
No, my buddy was at the game, so he was telling me updates.
You had a friend there?
Yeah, my buddy that passed through like a couple weeks ago. He just moved out there. He's getting his doctorate in education from there.
From UNLV?
Yeah, and they give out free student tickets.
How about that?
And he was saying this is a abnormally big stadium for what's going on.
Well, yeah,
here.
they play at the Raiders Stadium for people who don't know. Yeah, that's a little sweatier for Dan Mullen in his debut than anybody expected. This is the kind of sickos Brendan and I are. We were driving to Lawrence at the time that game was going on. Brendan found the UNLV broadcast on the Varsity Network at their Learfield School. Yeah. And we were listening to the game on the drive to Lawrence. Also listened to Stanford, Hawaii on the drive back. Great drama to end the day with Hawaii.
I did not realize that Idaho State Bengals quarterback Jordan Cook attempted 50 passes.
Okay. Do you know who Idaho State's coach is? You probably don't.
No.
Do you remember a gentleman by the name of Dan Hawkins?
That sounds familiar vaguely.
The former coach at Boise State who then went to Colorado and didn't do any winning at Colorado and had the famous, "It ain't intramurals, brother. Go play intramurals" press conference.
Yes.
Dan Hawkins. Okay. Also, his son was his quarterback at Colorado there for a time, Cody Hawkins. Their coach is Cody Hawkins. Cody Hawkins, who is younger than me. He is 37. He is younger than me. He is the head coach at Idaho State.
Wow.
When I found that out, I wanted to just like lay down and let the earth reclaim me. I felt so ancient in that moment. Cody Hawkins is a Division I FCS football coach.
It's okay, because he is 8-15.
Well, that's a hard job. Let's just say that. Idaho State, they don't do a lot of winning. In
quarterback sure does pass a lot, though.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's a Hawkins offense. Don't be too surprised. Yeah. What's his name? The kid for Western Kentucky, Maverick McIver, threw for like 500 against Sam Houston in the Conference USA game. Yeah, it's great to have college football back in all its glory. Even though the day ended certainly in frustration for K-State fans after a game that. Boy, they should have won and found a way to lose to Iowa State again. KU, obviously, day of celebration, reopening the booth. And Thursday night, Cincinnati, Nebraska. Here's a fun fact. You can hear that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Our friends at Gridiron Radio providing a national broadcast of Cincinnati and Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium. Thursday night, right here, 580 WIBW. That's a little thing called promotional synergy.
Hey, I set in my undisclosed location that I mentioned on our instant reaction was the national radio booth.
Oh, there you go.
For the Chiefs.
Well, I hope you left it in good working condition for the Gridiron Radio folks.
I did. So Gridiron Radio folks, from me to you, come on you're airing on our station. So
we'll take one more break, come back with a final word next on 580 Sports Talk. All right, time for the final word for this Monday before we hand the baton to the Royals Baseball Network. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience for me. My first NFL game coverage on Friday. Something, it's a preseason game, but still something I'll never forget. And I think it's pretty cool that I was like two storylines on one side, obviously covering the Chiefs here for the last year and a half, but getting to cover the guy that I covered in college, Tyson Bagent, was pretty cool as well. And seeing that final drive that he made was pretty cool to know where he's come from, to have lived in the town that he grew up in, and to see all of that flourish into him getting a contract extension last week, playing the entire second half, in which they could have just played other people, but they wanted him to get the work in case Caleb went down this season. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, an NFL locker room smells exactly how I thought it would, just like Old Spice swagger. Also, standing in the locker room and like being 3 feet from Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes is like wild. I know that like I get to do this job and like this is a fun job and all, but like still pretty surreal that like two of the most influential people and known people in football I was within feet of.
No, it doesn't wear off. No. Honestly, it doesn't. That feeling that never really wears off. Final word for me: Kansas State did a lot of things to win a football game on Saturday, and I think they're going to continue to do those things as we go along in the 2025 season. They showed explosiveness in the passing game. They showed a pass rush that appeared fearsome and did some really good things in the front seven. I did not leave Saturday worried about K-State's ability to be a Big 12 contender, to be a top 25 team, to get to Arlington. But I did wish I had seen a little bit more improvement from Avery Johnson. And maybe weather had more to do with that than we're giving it credit for. But I thought we'd see a better passing version of Avery Johnson. I still think that's in him, but if it's in him, we didn't really get to see it in week 0. And also, if you're going to run Avery Johnson, don't run him like he's Colin Klein. Run him like he's Avery Johnson, because running power with Avery Johnson doesn't work. That's not who he is. Get him on the perimeter. Let him use his speed. Let him use his vision in the open field. Read option was a touchdown. QB sweep, you didn't get a yard when you needed a yard and you lost the game. That's a pretty simple lesson, I think, for Matt Wells to take all the way back from Dublin to the States. Royals baseball's next. We're back tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.